Hello, everybody. Hello, Jill. Welcome back to the show, everyone. My name is Johnny, and I am your host for today. I'm wearing my True Fit shirt today because that's my business, and I have Jill here with us on the podcast because Jill and I met a couple months ago at a like a wellness, or it wasn't like a wellness. It was more of like a um, man. What was that? It was kind of like
A vendor fair.
a vendor fair. Thank you.
Yeah,
A bunch
yeah.
of vendors came together, different
Yes.
businesses came together, and just get to kind of show what we do and how we help people. And that's where Jill and I met. So Jill is currently a holistic health coach. And I know she's very, very good at it. You and I have been kind of working together the last few
Yeah.
months with some of our clients, sharing different resources, helping
Mm-hmm.
people live a healthier lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
But you weren't always a holistic health coach.
Nope.
Um, so what I want to talk to you about today, and what I hope everyone here is here to learn, is kind of the struggles that people go through in their lives with different jobs, with raising a family, and then eventually getting to a point where it's like, you know what, maybe I can just work for myself because maybe I need to take a step back from corporate and just take a step back from like a really, really busy, overwhelming life and just kind of focus on what I want to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which I
Yeah.
think is really, really important. So, Jill, thank you so much for being here. I'm very excited to talk with you today. Um,
Thank you. I'm glad to
yeah,
be here.
so
I'm
just give,
honored. I'm honored to be here.
yeah, it's great. So yeah, we met at the vendor fair
We
and
did.
been really good friends ever
Mm-hmm.
since.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome. Thanks for being
Thank
here.
you.
Um, if you don't mind, if you give a quick little bio about kind of
Sure.
who you are and how you help people, and then I want to ask a couple of questions about your earlier years and kind of how you transitioned into becoming a mom, moving to Colorado, and
Mhm.
starting this journey of helping other people.
Sure, sure. Well, as you mentioned, I have a passion of reinventing myself, and I have a passion of sharing that with people that I work with. And so I had been in mental health for 20 plus years and got to a point where I needed to make a change. And so I went back and I got my certification in health coaching. And I thought, you know what, I can really lean into all of my mental health background in addition to health coaching. And I love the idea of the prevention model. I've worked in that within schools as the prevention model. I've also too worked on the other side as reaction as a school counselor, et cetera. And so when I work with my clients, I talk a lot about the value of meeting yourself where you're at, that you do have the power to reinvent yourself, and that I also too lean into a lot of mental health and mindset because I look at health as not only is it physical, but it's also mental. And so I have led people through detoxing. I love teaching them the value of the liver. I get really excited about those weird things, but working with those people, they have a better understanding of how their body works, taking care of their body, especially their liver. And so I love leading people through detox. I'm yoga certified. And when I teach yoga, I also to incorporate mindset and the value of taking care of oneself. So that's
Yeah,
where I am today.
yeah. And you know, you keep using the word mindset, and I just feel like in this time in the
Mhm,
world, 2025, that's huge. You know,
mhm,
your mindset is something that's either going to make or break your life, right? Your
mhm.
career, your relationships, your confidence. Um, I don't know. I feel like things were different before COVID happened, and now after COVID happened, everything is different. Like people are
Mhm,
struggling more.
mhm.
Um, the like I feel like the years are getting faster and faster ever since COVID. Like before it was at least I felt a little manageable, but now it's 2025 already and I can't even believe it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy. It's crazy.
it's crazy.
And agreed. And during a period of time, I worked in the school systems and other kind of helping agencies prior to COVID and after COVID. And what a difference with regards to behavior, mindset. And so I am in complete agreement. And when we work together, I know that you appreciate that component.
Mhm.
of mental health and what are our old stories and how they lean into our current and how we can change those.
Yeah, yeah, old stories for sure. I feel like a lot of adults struggle and even go to therapy because of things that have happened to them when they were kids. And,
Hmm.
as adults, I feel like people tell us to just, well, grow up and move on, but it's hard. You can't just get over it,
Mm-mm.
right?
No.
There's certain things that happened to us when we were kids that really hurt us and that we're struggling with as adults. But like sometimes we just put it on the back burner because it's like, oh, whatever, something happened to me. But it
Hmm.
comes out sideways sometimes.
Yeah.
Even me. I mean, I had a tough time as a kid dealing with confidence and dealing with bullies and not believing that I'm good enough, and that comes out a lot sometimes. Unfortunately, it comes out sideways to my wife. Sometimes in my business, I just feel like I
Hmm.
feel stuck sometimes. But it's definitely a mental block. So,
Yeah.
you ever
Yeah.
feel like that with your business?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think that this is such a, transitioning from my old story and mental health and chaos and a lot of stress, which then I got sick from it. And I'm like, okay, I've got to do something different.
Yeah,
Um, it has given me the opportunity to go back and see how I'm showing up based on kind of those old stories or thoughts or fears. And so this has been a really growing opportunity for me, myself, as I've also too made it the transition. You know what? I grew up with the mantra, and it's probably generational, with pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And I am one that I believe in resilience. I really believe, again, working with children and families prior to working mainly with adults now, um, that there is such value in resilience and grit and determination and working hard. But, you can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps for years and years and years without having the need to kind of go more inside and do some reflection.
right. Because I feel like a lot of people work on external things because they think it's going to help my inner self.
Hmm.
But in reality, a lot of times it's the other way around.
Hmm.
If
Yeah.
you can't figure out what's going on with your own mind and self-doubt and anxiety, it's going to come out with things that are important to you, like your relationships or your career.
Hmm.
And like you said, this can get overwhelming, and then you get sick.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then when you're
Been
sick, you,
there.
you can't do anything. You can't take care of anything, right?
Mm-mm. No, no, absolutely not.
Did you learn to pull yourself up by your bootstraps from when you were living on a ranch as a kid?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to say that and I think you know me well enough too, Johnny, that I really try to look at the silver linings and see the positive and see the struggle, also too, as opportunity to learn and grow. But I was raised by two parents that worked two full-time jobs. And we also too had a full-time job working the ranch. And so I learned early on that teamwork was very important. And then um, again, I think a part of it has to do with generational, with pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Because I was given my sister and I think we had a lot of responsibility early on as kids with going to school and being a kid and growing up and doing all those kinds of things and being involved with all of the different kinds of sports and activities, in addition to chores of changing the sprinklers, getting up in the middle of the night and herding the cattle that had got out of the pasture, taking care of our animals. I had to clean the rabbit cage, the chicken cage, make sure that animals were fed, in addition to just being a kid. And
Uh-huh.
so that was expected of me.
Yeah. That's a lot.
It is. It
Yeah.
was.
You put a lot of
Mm,
pressure on yourself. Like I need to do good. I
hmm.
need to be a good daughter, and I need to perform well so that they are proud of me. And I feel like that work ethic is really good in terms of um, growing your personality and growing like who you are, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But I feel like a lot of people get stuck in that mode. Like I need to work so hard because I need people to feel proud of me,
It,
right?
yes, absolutely. And that was one thing during this journey of transitioning, is to really look at that and to not um, associate myself with the identity of being this hardworking person. I mean, that's great, but to almost to a fault. And it's also too interesting. I was working in one of the schools, and I was triggered by one of my bosses telling me that I wasn't doing my job. And for somebody like me, that was like so detrimental because of where I've come from, what I've done, what I look at. That was a big problem. But I finally realized that that was a mirror to me of something that I needed to work on, and that that wasn't true. And I didn't need to have that person, you know, try to define something that that was not true about me.
Hey everyone, Johnny here. Sorry for interrupting, but I just wanted to take a moment and say thank you so much for being here on my podcast. If you guys are enjoying the episodes and the conversations that I'm having with these special guests, please go ahead and like this video and hit that subscribe button so that you guys can see our future episodes. I know there's a ton of different podcasts and episodes that you could be listening to or watching right now. So once again, thank you so much for being here and supporting us. All right, now back to the show. Wow. Yeah, I totally agree. And I feel like there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people who go through the similar thing. Like I as well, when I was a kid, I mean, I wasn't, I grew up in a really small town. So all of my friends and everyone that I knew in my school was either on the football team or the baseball team.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not an athlete, by the words of my athletic director, if you're not an athlete, you're nobody. I
Mm-hmm.
don't really care about you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now there's so much pressure to be like an athlete and to be a good athlete and to be chosen for first string. And if you're not, then you're just a loser.
Yeah.
Okay? And that transitions into my adulthood because now I have a business and I'm
Mm-hmm.
working with kids and I'm working with other professionals. And if I'm not the best, or if I'm not chosen as a coach, or if people don't want to hire me as a personal trainer,
Mm-hmm.
I get down on myself. Like, well,
Yeah.
how did I mess up? Like, why don't they like me? Like, I'm not gonna be good enough for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it holds me back sometimes. So I think it's really good to recognize some of these faults that maybe perhaps that stemmed from your childhood
Mm-hmm.
and just understand like it's okay. Like you don't have to be on all the time.
Yeah.
You don't have to
Yeah.
be the best, right? You got to just be okay with who you are and do what you want to do and do what you love because that's gonna end up being a lot more helpful for you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you and I, when we work with our clients, not only are we talking about physical health, mental health, but we're also talking about our nervous system
Yeah.
and, you know, trying to help our clients regulate that as well and to um, see the wins, even if they're small wins or in the baby steps, and
Yeah.
not to necessarily do more, do this, do that. It's also to what can you let go of? And so you can help regulate your nervous system because I think both of us know that if we're always doing that, it's just harder. It's just harder to get healthy.
Yeah. Putting that into a very realistic scenario, some of my clients were like, I walk all the time and I'm eating healthy all the time and all this stuff and I'm moving and I'm following everything the same, but I'm not losing weight.
Hmm.
And you just said, well, sometimes it's not about doing more. It's about
Hmm.
maybe perhaps doing less. Well, are you still having 3 beers every night?
Hmm.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm still doing that. I'm like, well, okay, maybe cut it down to one and see
Hmm.
how your weight changes, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, agreed.
It's just kind of finding certain areas in your life that maybe you don't have to add more to because
Yeah.
it's already doing so many things.
Hmm.
But taking a step back and just seeing what kind of unhealthy habits can I maybe get rid of.
Yeah. Yep.
So you grew up on a farm. That's really cool because I'm originally from South Africa, and we used to go to South Africa all the time to visit my grandparents who also have a farm, and we used to go there and ride horses and
Oh, yeah.
go check out all the cattle and stuff. So what did you guys have on your farm? Sheep,
Yeah.
what else?
Yeah.
Chicken.
Well, we raised beef cattle.
Okay.
So Black Angus. So we raised beef cattle, and then we also too had our pets.
Okay.
And every time that we'd go through calving season, we name the cows.
Okay.
And growing up that early in life and seeing and kind of discerning the difference that these guys, the beef cattle, they're going to move on to it and have a different life. And then we had, the mamas and that kind of thing that would continue to have babies. One of my favorite things was we'd have this cow named Rue, and she was not a great mama. So my dad and I were able to go out into the pasture, and we bring out the bottle, and Rue and her baby would come into um, the little corral, and I got to feed the calf, and then my dad would help get the calf up to Rue, and then practice that. So again, just the value of discerning, you know, obviously there's cattle that are different and others that we can love, and they're all wonderful. We also too grew alfalfa hay, and
Okay.
so that was a large part of why we had four seasons, four cuttings. And so my sister and I, we would be involved with it, with changing sprinklers, rolling hay bales. Once the hay bales were spit out, you have to roll them to make sure that they dried out evenly. I bucked a lot of hay. That's
Wow.
why, yeah, I bucked a lot of hay,
Okay.
and then stacked it. And then obviously when people, we had a script at home, right, on the phone that hangs on the wall.
With the cord?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
with the cord. And my sister and I would, my folks wrote a little script of whenever somebody called for hay, exactly how much it was a ton, when,
Okay.
that kind
Little
of stuff.
sales script.
Yeah, yeah,
So you were
yeah,
you were
early.
selling things even as a kid.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Hey, yeah, hey.
That's funny.
And I had my own horse, and like I said, we had chickens and we had rabbits and we had our pet ducks, and my sister and I had our pet rabbits, and obviously dogs and kitties. Um,
Wow. That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you had some sheep too, right? That you had to like
Oh,
go find because they've wandered off and now you gotta pull
yeah.
them across back over the fence and
Yeah, those were actually our neighbor's sheep. They would occasionally get into our pastures and play dead. It was the weirdest thing. I
the
think they
sheep are
were in,
so dumb. That's
I
why.
know, they are not my favorite. They're not,
Have you s-
uh,
have you seen A Million Ways to Die in the West?
uh-uh,
That's a
uh-uh.
movie with Seth MacFarlane. It's a hilarious movie. If you guys got to go watch the movie because it's great.
Okay.
The creator of Family Guy is the main character in this movie, and he's a sheep farmer in the movie, and
Uh-huh.
he's got like 100 different sheep, and some of them are like on his roof because
Oh
he doesn't
gosh.
even know how they got up there, but they're just so dumb. They're just kind of running away.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
funny.
so when I shared that with you, our neighbors, they would come in, and then my dad and I would, I mean, I say all of the few of them that did this, they would just lay down, and we thought that, they had a heart attack or whatever. And we just drag them over the pasture and scoot them out underneath the fence. And then we'd step back a few paces, and then they get up and run off.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I,
So after that, what you went to college
mm-hmm,
and got your degree in criminal justice,
mm-hmm.
right? And then
Yeah,
went on to get a master's in education,
I
right?
did. Yeah, I did.
That's really, really cool.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. I got my bachelor's, and well, I went to school right after I graduated from high school, and actually did not finish until when my daughter was born. So when I was pregnant and working, I would also to go to college and finish up my bachelor's.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. And
hmm
then right after that, you moved to Colorado.
We moved to Arizona.
Oh, Arizona.
Yeah, my kid's dad and I are both from Washington State. And we decided, we wanted to change, and the kids were really, really young.
Mhm.
So we made the change. And have you ever heard that phrase, everywhere you go, there you are?
I haven't.
Okay. Because our
Like
relationship
a
was
Dr.
already,
Seuss book.
yeah, everywhere you go, there you are. And so at that time, we were having difficulty in our marriage. And then, like a lot of people do, they move or they go and do whatever, but we still had problems. So the end result is that um, we got divorced when the kids were really young in
Okay.
Arizona, and I stayed in Arizona. Um,
Because
and
you love to be in sweaty
no, no,
temperature all the time?
no. The story with that one is that um, the kid's dad and I, we were like, okay, this didn't work out. This is really not good. So we're going to go back to Washington State because
Okay.
we have family there. But he had already gotten involved with a woman, and he's like, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving Arizona. And I thought, well, I can't have my kids not have access to their dad. And so, other stories happened after that. But that's why I stayed in Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when did you move to Colorado?
I moved to Colorado after Evan, my youngest, went to college. So
Okay.
that was about 9 years ago.
9 years ago.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
And I didn't know anybody here when I moved
Right. So
here.
what did you do when you first got here?
Um, well, I literally found a place online because I had come up here and visited a handful of times. I wanted to get more back to those four seasons and a little bit more mild. I wasn't ready to go back to Washington State. My parents live in Seattle and up along the peninsula, and it can get really oppressive in the wintertime. So I wasn't ready for that. So I came here and visited, and so I just moved here not knowing anybody and found a place to live online. And I just started working at the REI.
Okay.
And yeah, and through that, honestly, during that time, I kind of needed, I was Anna and Evan's mom. That's whom I was my identity for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And kind of reinventing myself, what's going to go next. And I had always been interested in, maybe what it would be like to sell houses and be a realtor.
Uh-huh.
So I went and got my realtor's license and passed the state and the national first time around.
Okay.
And I got
Cool.
connected um, with a broker who, I'm going to be nice, was not very nice. And like, this is not going to work out here. And plus, I
Uh-huh.
don't know anybody. So like, okay. But I think for me, I just have to keep my mind busy. I like to learn, and I did learn a lot. So that didn't work out. So I just went back to the school district and
Okay.
started working back in the schools because that's where my familiarity was. I didn't go back into school counseling at the time. I wanted to do something different.
Well, with your education masters, I feel like that was maybe a good fit.
Yeah, in Arizona, after I got my master's, I wanted to have the same schedule as the kids because we were divorced and wanted to be a part of the community. And
Okay.
so I went and was a school counselor in Arizona for uh, 11 plus years or so in the elementary.
Okay.
And then when I came here and then decided to go back into the school district, um, I didn't want to go back into school counseling, but I wanted to obviously use those skills. And I was the McKinney-Vento coordinator for one of the school districts that works with kids that are experiencing homelessness and
Wow.
work
Okay,
with
that's really cool.
families.
Yeah.
Yeah, work with families and children experiencing homelessness for about 3 plus years. And
Just
then
so
I
people
took,
would know, in Colorado, it's a little out of hand here.
well,
People,
yeah.
we need help. Okay.
Yeah. And then transitioned and I was I wanted to be more proactive because again, counseling, school counseling, working with these kinds of family is very reactive. And I've been on that side of the street for such a long time. I'm like, I gotta, there's value in being more proactive.
Right.
And so I went and I got my yoga certification because I thought, well, that might be a proactive thing to work with kids.
Yeah.
And I did do some yoga with some kids that had some behavior problems. And then COVID hit, and then I went into a health, wellness, and prevention department that really their model was being proactive with regards to social emotional learning for both children and adults.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And you did that for how long?
I did that for another, let's see, 3, 6, maybe about 3+ years. So now
Okay.
I'm there for about 6 years. Uh-huh.
Okay. And that was just until you just had entered your 50s when that happened, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Because I
yeah.
remember at one point you were talking about getting to the early 50s and then you kind of hitting a wall
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
with stress and anxiety um you were just talking about how for a long time you were just mom,
Yeah.
right? Which is lovely in its own way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But correct me if I'm wrong, maybe losing part of your identity, um, which can be stressful, right? There's a lot of people who like love to do what they want to do and they love who they are, but then external things happen. Sometimes it's having kids, and now your entire life is about the kids,
Yeah, yeah,
which rightfully so. But then when you enter your 50s or when the kids go off to college, um, reconnecting with yourself is really, really important, and just trying to
yeah.
figure out who you are and what you want to do now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, when I was in Arizona, like I mentioned, I was a single parent, and then I was working full time as a school counselor, and then also too I had other additional jobs, just to kind of make ends meet. And then once Evan was graduated, both kids were off, came here, and I was by myself. So it's no longer Jill, the school counselor, or Jill, Anna, and Evan's mom. I'm like, I need to figure this out here.
Right.
So that's why I mean, yes, I went into and did the McKinney-Vento and working with homeless, but I was in the beginning stages of reinventing and thinking about how I want to approach life, how I want to work with people, um, and meet them where they're at. And so that's where I think that journey began, of that transition for me to change what I needed to do. And then leading up to just illness is just, I think it's just chronic stress,
Yeah.
working also too in toxic environments. And I just had, I think all people, I think this is a story that's not just Jill's story. This is a lot of people's story. And
Hmm.
that's why I think connecting with people with regards to their mental health is really important, because we just push, 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 and eventually and continue to pull ourselves by our bootstraps because we can make it. I know how to do this. I've been educated on how to do this. This has been my story for so long, but your body and your mind always whispers. It whispers first and then yells. And so
Yeah.
it eventually yelled to me with becoming sick.
And I feel like a lot of people who focus on other things, not themselves,
Hmm.
they start to hear the whispers from their body around their mid 30s, maybe going into their 40s. And by the time they're 50 or even going into their 60s,
Hmm.
if they're not focusing on their mental health or their physical health, their body starts screaming at them.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to say it's too late for you because it's never too late.
Hmm.
But I will say, if you're going to wait until you're 50 or 60 years old to start thinking about your mental and physical health, it's going
Hmm.
to be really, really, really hard.
Hmm.
Probably one of the hardest things you're ever going to do because by then you're successful, you have a family, and everyone's grown up, and you got to like figure it out. Like, how do you want to spend the last 20 years of your life?
Yeah. I think that, I mean, I know that you're much younger than I am, but I think, well, there's just different seasons of life. That strive and that struggle is a season that we all go through. I went through it, you're to make it, to grow a business, all of those kinds of things. Those are not, again, it's not, it's just kind of those seasons of life that you go through. And I think a lot of it's to get to the point of realizing how I have been living my life
Yeah.
is maybe not serving me or others.
Yeah. And what's funny is you've ever since you were a child on the farm or on the
Hmm.
ranch,
Hmm.
you you've had a lot of things going on,
Yeah.
right? And it's almost like that became your identity. Like I need to do this, and I need to do that. I need to help
Hmm.
people, and I need to take care of my
Hmm.
kids. And it's a little
Yeah.
overwhelming. And then it gets to a point where you've been doing that your entire life, and now you're getting sick
Hmm.
because it's overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what was kind of your first step when you found out like my body's screaming at me and I need
Hmm.
to look inward and start focusing on my health, what was your very next step in to get on track with that?
Sure. Well, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention I was scared. I was scared because that, again, like you were saying about your identities, these are things that I've known. This is what I've done. This is who I am. And so just navigating that fear, in addition to navigating the doctor's appointments and navigating the prescriptions that kept on coming. And I felt like for the first time, Johnny, in my life, that I had somebody to be able to support me because I've been on my own for a long time. And that's my husband, Torval. And I kind of feel a little emotion. He knew and supported me that I needed to make a change. And so it didn't come easy for me to let go and let somebody help me because I've been so independent and self-reliant my whole life.
Right.
So listening to him say, I'm here for you, we'll do whatever we need. I already knew intuitively that I needed to step away from the work environment. I didn't need all of these medications to go to environments that were no longer serving me. I needed to change my life.
Right.
Yeah. And that's layered. That's layered in emotion. That's layered in your physicality. That's layered in your relationships and then your old stories. So just navigating through all of that took some time.
It's rough. Well, it's hard
Yeah.
and it's uncomfortable.
Yes.
And people don't want to deal with any of that.
Nope. This is
No,
true.
it's
Yeah.
uncomfortable for a reason. I don't want to be
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So what advice would you give people who are kind of who've hit a wall, who are feeling stuck, maybe feeling overwhelmed or stressed out,
Hmm.
and maybe they already know that their health is taking a dive, but they're afraid or they've never had support or they've been so independent in the past that they think they can just take care of it by themselves when in reality when you just said that like I needed help and the moment you
Hmm.
got help you started to see a difference, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
other than getting help, what would be a really really good tip for people who are watching this?
Yeah. I think just meeting yourself where you're at and sitting with the uncomfortableness and listening to uh, the cry for your body and your mind to seek something differently and be open with that. We all kind of I mean, we've talked a little bit about this we all get to a point where we need to continually evolve,
Right.
right? So this is an opportunity to continue to grow um, and share, uh, avoid isolation, share your feelings, your thoughts, your fears, and look for those that can be supportive during the transition.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we shared a little bit in that during the wellness seminar that we had a couple of weeks ago. We had a good amount of people show up for that, and that was really really powerful because you guys can go watch the recording if you want. It's in our Facebook group, but we
Hmm.
shared a lot of like healthy habits and morning routines, and you shared some detoxing strategies. But
Hmm.
we also we talked about mindset and
Hmm.
taking a step back, evaluating who you are, where you are at in life, and
Hmm.
what kind of healthy steps you need to take moving forward to kind of get out of that that feeling and just start seeing like a clear path moving forward, right?
Yeah. Yeah. While working with people, even well, with counseling my whole, 20 plus years, we make a lot of decisions based on fear.
Yeah.
So discerning if you are making a decision based on fear or what is really the best decision based maybe more on facts and things that might help you move in a direction rather than stay stuck.
Do you know who Robert California is?
No.
He is a fake character in The Office.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Uh,
You told
People
me.
who are Office fans will know who I'm talking about immediately. He's this really he's a CEO type character in The Office.
Mm,
But there's a line in there that I want to share with you guys. He says that fear uh, takes a big role in our lives,
mhm,
and he says, "How dare we let fear into our decision making?
mhm,
You can't be scared about what might happen because you don't know, right?
mhm. Yeah.
It's best to just take action and just see what happens, and then you can get scared later if you want, but at least now you don't have any kind of regret. Like I feel like a lot of people they don't take opportunities because they're afraid of what might happen,
Mhm.
and then they don't take it, and then later on they kind of regret, well, I don't know what could have happened, so
Yeah. Yeah. If you play your life safe your whole life, and so I'm speaking to maybe some of the younger people that might be listening, or maybe some of the people that you might be working with, if you continue to practice stepping forward into that fear,
yeah,
um, and it's not because that will lend itself to other when you come up against to where you might have an opportunity to grow, but you make decisions based on fear. The more you practice that,
yeah,
yeah.
100%. I have
Hmm.
many stories in my life where I told my dad, like, I'm scared. I'm afraid
Hmm.
of what might happen.
Hmm.
And when I graduated college, I wrote both my parents a letter just to kind of say thank you for being my parents and
Hmm.
supporting me and all this stuff. And
Hmm.
it was quite emotional, but I told my dad that he played a really big role in my life because he told me not to be, don't be afraid because you don't know
Hmm.
what's going to happen,
Hmm.
right? I
Yeah.
remember having a conversation with him um, on my first day of ninth grade, going to school. He was driving me to school, and I was freaking out because I'm like, I'm going into high school.
Hmm.
And he was like, so what? Don't worry.
Hmm.
And same thing about going to college because I went to college out of state for my first 2 years
Yeah.
and I was freaking out. And
Yeah.
then when I signed up for my Ironman triathlon, I was scared. That's
Yeah.
a 13-hour
Yeah.
race.
Yeah, I bet.
And he was like, "You got this. Like,
Yeah.
don't be scared. Just take it one step at a time and just keep moving forward." And then when
Yeah.
I started my business, I was freaking out because I started that just before COVID happened, and I was really excited about it. And then everything shut down. And then I started freaking out about, well, how am I going to make money now?
Hmm.
But it every single one of those situations that I just said led to me growing into the person who I am today, and I don't regret anything
Yeah.
because
That's right.
it's been an incredible journey, and just learning about who I am and what I'm capable of has been really rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I might add another little
Yeah,
thing, I think being open to the wisdom of different generations.
right.
I
Like
usually
on
I
both
have,
ends or
yes, yes.
only the
No,
older
no.
side.
I normally have friends that are older than me,
Right.
but also too, my younger friends, yourself included, Johnny. You've taught me a lot since our friendship has started and us working together. And I am somebody that likes to stay open to what different generations have to say. And so that can also to lend itself into when you're hitting a wall, to maybe seek and wisdom from people that have lived life a little bit longer and maybe what they've done. And then also to just, and I mean, this is a stretch, but even working with youth and the values that we want our youth to have so they can be strong, resilient adults is kindness, curiosity, be willing to explore, be willing to take risks. That might be from that younger generation point, and just to be reminded of those things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're totally right because I feel like I'm in a really weird generation. I'm like stuck in the middle between we worked our asses off and we have to raise a family and make a lot of money and have a 9 to 5 job and only take 2 weeks of vacation all the time,
Hmm.
which is the generation above me. And the
Mm-hmm.
generation below me is I don't want to work. I can make money online super easy, and
Mm.
I can be whatever I want to be,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's a parrot. If I want to be
Mm-hmm.
a parrot, I can just identify as one and no one can say boo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I feel like there's pros and cons in both.
Mm-hmm.
So I 100% agree with you. Like learning from different generations, taking those pros and cons, evaluating, seeing how you can apply it in your own life. Because there's definitely a lot of things I could learn from the generation below me,
Mm-hmm.
but also above. And I feel like
Yeah.
the younger generation maybe don't see that. They
Yeah.
just think old people are old people, which
I
is
know.
honestly how I used to think. I'm like, well,
Mm-hmm.
old people are old and they don't know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not accurate.
Well, I think I mean, they may not at certain times, like with technology or whatever, you be as immersed as the younger generation, but there is value in life being lived.
Yeah,
And they have a lot more experience maybe with the struggle or the angst of change and just maybe just
yeah,
it can be a resource.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's awesome. So
Mm.
could you, over the next like 30 seconds, just briefly tell our listeners what you do with your clients?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, we started this off with regards to holistic health coaching, and that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm loving. That's what I'm still learning about and sharing with my clients. Again, liver detoxes, seasonal liver detoxes. I've got things going on with regard to that. Um, I have I also teach yoga. I have at the gym and then also to seniors, and they're also teaching me on how to do yoga a little bit differently. So being open to those. I have done wellness plans and again, incorporating, regardless of what I'm doing, mindset into all of those things. I also wrote a journal that you can get on Amazon. It's called Illuminating Wellness. And it's bringing in that mindset. It's addressing those shadows. It's shadow work, those obstacles that might be holding us back in our health.
yeah, those fears and
Yeah,
things that happened to us when we were a kid,
yeah,
these shadows you're talking about might be things that are holding us back, and
yeah,
which you mentioned in your book, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
awesome. And you can get that off Amazon, right?
Yeah, yep, you sure can.
Illuminating Wellness.
Yep, Illuminating Wellness, and it's right here
Nice.
so people
Very
can
cool.
see it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's great. So
Mm-hmm.
you guys, please go check out that book. We've been sending it to our clients. It's fantastic. And the reason why I brought Jill on, well, the reason I started working with Jill is because she focuses a lot on gut health,
Mm-hmm.
which is really important because there's a lot of crap that's in our food now. There's even a difference between regular chicken and organic chicken. Like, why? Why is so? Just kind of understanding what's going to be good for your body, what's going to be helpful in terms of keeping your gut clean, keeping your metabolism a little bit higher, just keeping your body healthy so that your hormones can regulate. There's a lot of different things that go into it, which are really important. So I encourage you guys, please reach out to Jill. Please go buy her book. It's definitely going to be worth it. Okay.
Thank you,
Uh,
Johnny.
yeah, for sure. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners today?
Yeah, I think I just want to encourage people that it's never too late to feel better.
Right.
It's never too late. We're gonna, per the paperwork, we're gonna get older every year,
Every
but
day
every day, every
we get
minute.
older, right?
Yeah, yeah. Our cells, redo themselves. I think I'm not sure. Can't remember that. But anyway, um, but you can actually, if you're not feeling good, you can start to feel better. You don't have to just say, I'm this age. I'm supposed to feel this way. That is not true. That's a lie. And the more that you take care of yourself and seek support from people like yourself or me to take that journey, you can get there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's never too late.
Nope.
Yeah. And just because you're 60 and 100 pounds overweight does not mean you have to go on a ridiculous diet or
Mm-mm.
some kind of hardcore exercise routine that you absolutely hate, there are definitely much easier, much more holistic approaches to feeling healthier and losing weight in a much more natural way. And that's kind of why I started becoming an online coach, because I feel like there are so many people who are like, oh, I need to lose weight. I need to cut out carbs. Like, I need to only eat salads. I need to go on runs every day. Well, it's like, that sounds terrible.
Hmm.
And like, you're not going to do that for the rest of your life. So
Yeah.
why not get into something that you're going to enjoy? Because then it's easy to maintain, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And just so everyone knows, that's something that Jill and I try to relay to some of our viewers, and to especially the people during the wellness seminar we had last a couple weeks ago, was that it doesn't have to be a challenge. It doesn't have to be super hard, right? As long as
Hmm.
you have a simple plan that's going to work with you and your schedule and your limitations, then it's going to seem a lot more effortless. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I
yeah,
think that's why we kind of naturally align, Johnny, is that we could both see the value of that. And
for
I
sure.
love your approach with your clients as well, is that it doesn't have to be, to think about being overweight or having these health challenges, it can feel overwhelming and intimidating.
Yeah,
But just kind of simplifying it, and that it's not that scary,
yeah.
is an opportunity to be kind of step into that space that's unknown.
And focusing on small wins, like what you said
Hmm.
earlier, right?
Yeah,
A
yeah,
small win could be going out for a 10-minute walk. Like, that's your win for the day.
yeah,
Good job.
yeah, absolutely.
It's easy, right? Or just drinking a little bit more water, having a little bit more protein each day. There are
Hmm.
definitely smaller things you can focus on that stack up quite quickly. And after a month of practicing healthier habits, you're going to see and feel a difference.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, after 21 or 28 days of doing something, you create a new habit within yourself.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And once you feel a difference or see a difference after 21 days or after 30 days,
Yeah.
there's your motivation to
Hmm.
keep on going. People are always like, oh, I need motivation to get started. I'm like, just do something simple, right?
Yeah.
And after 7 days or after, 15 days, you're going to be automatically motivated. Trust
Hmm.
us.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
we build in sustainability
Yeah,
and when we're working with our clients.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Well, Jill, you're amazing.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Thank you so much for being here. This was an awesome conversation. I hope everyone who's listening enjoyed this conversation with Jill. Please go reach out to her or go find her book on Amazon. She's really smart, and it's definitely going to be very helpful. So,
Well, thank you, Johnny.
yeah, you're
You're not
welcome.
too bad yourself.
Thank you. I have a book too, just so
Yeah,
everyone
you do. Yeah,
knows.
you do.
All right, Joe. Well, thanks so much, everyone. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel so that you can see more amazing guests like Jill on the show. And we'll see you on the next episode.
All right. Bye.